America's #1 funny man. What? Hey. Make some noise. Ladies and gentlemen, from LA to New York, Chicago to Mississippi, let's give it up for America's #1 funny man, Rodney.
What's up, party people? It's your boy Rodney Perry. You're tuned in to Rodney Perry Live. We are here with a cavalcade of funny people, and we're going to talk about mental health today, man. I think that those of us who are at task with making folks laugh, we don't always get people to pay attention to us when people might be going through stuff. I mean, last year we probably lost more comics than in any one year. That since I've been doing comedy 30 years, I can't remember a year where we lost, upwards of 5 or 6 or 7, maybe 10 comics last year. My guest today, Corey Madden, hailing from Boston. Appreciate you, Corey. Thanks for coming on, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure and a privilege for you to have me on your show.
That is a privilege, absolutely, for me. Akintunde Warnock, one of the most awesome comedians I know. I mean, he has a family of 5. He will shoot the club up.
What? He said, "I shoot the club." That's hilarious.
He ain't shot nothing up in a while.
Hey, man, wherever the problem is, I'm willing to go there and do what I need to do. I'm
do your thing, your thug thizzle.
Full grown man, all day, every day.
In absolute need. Guy Torrey, the author of Tripolar. He might be the youngest, oldest comedian around. He wears wonderful clothing. He will roast your ass for no reason at all. And he one of my favorite humans, man.
First of all, I want to say congratulations on becoming America's funniest comedian. That's what it said in the intro. I didn't get that memo.
It's coming. It's in the mail. You should get it in any minute.
And then secondly, I need you to retire that jacket in the promo, the fake leather jacket with the little raised little ants on it. Yeah, retire that leather, that pleather jacket.
We're not gonna roast Rodney today. We're not roasting Rodney today.
If I come to a comic club and see you leather jacket.
Oh, he just took him off the screen.
Hey, thank you, Guy Torrey, for rocking with us today. And of course, man, this guy's always my partner. I've been for years. First guy in New York to be nice to me. JP Justice is in the building. He has way more credits than that as well. He is a king in New York in my book. JP Justice Labs is in the building. What's the bro?
Just had to drop bombs on my name right there. I don't know if anybody else drop bombs, so I just wanted to drop bombs on my name.
Drop bombs on your name, bro.
You can't hear, he sounded low.
Oh, you can't
He
hear
does
me?
sound low.
You sound really low.
Hold on.
You got them curl bags on your headphones.
What do you got?
Yeah, curl bags. The only way to have the curl bags on his headphones.
Is that better?
Yes.
That's not better at all, but we'll figure it out. All right. And we can't do a conversation like this without welcoming our female counterparts, man. I reached out to a couple of ladies. This is the one that took my call. She is face beat, ready to rock and roll. She's an author. She's a comedian. She's right here in Atlanta, killing the game, but she works Compton and Cairo, Frisco to Maine. Welcome to the show, Kiana Dancy. What up, Kiana?
Hey.
Does everybody know each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, y'all.
What's up, sis?
And my face is not beat. This is just a little something because you called.
She got fucking look. Ain't no y'all got perfect lighting. Her shit ready. She got a foot. She got a foot up in the air. It's all kind of stuff going on over there.
I can't stand you. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hello.
I didn't get the demo. I didn't get the memo either that he was the funniest comedian. I said, "Oh, what is it coming in the mail?"
Well, you the one who passed the information around because you know.
We're not denying it. We're not saying you're not.
We just said we didn't get the memo.
We didn't get the memo.
It's coming. We should have it by the end of the week. I missed 2 people.
Yeah, I thought it was Dan and Green, but evidently
Danny Green is the funniest spitter in America.
Hilarious.
Yo, man, let's not start roasting people because that's the source of a lot of mental angst. Hey, can you remember being a young comic and then hating to walk in because you know they're about to light into your ass for no reason?
My God.
And I can't Jones, so it was one of those things. I was like, "Oh, what y'all gonna talk about? My gap? Okay, say something else."
Which gap? Which gap?
Oh, I ain't got no gap down there, sir. She's typing right.
Hold on. Okay. All right.
Sunday is here, y'all.
We got a pastor. We got a pastor on the call today.
And listen,
Nobody give a shit about that.
I am saved, but I'm savage. So I'm with you. I'll stand with you, sir.
I'm saved, but I'm savage. I love it.
You won't make it through the revival.
I've been trying to get Rodney on my prayer every Wednesday. As soon as I go in, I look up, I see him there, and he pop out. I said, "Oh, it's getting too much."
What Kiana can pray though. I will give her some love. She can pray. She's a praying sister. Anyway,
I mean, but here's the thing. Guy Torrey is talking about me being a pastor. I was telling y'all before we started. Guy Torrey got saved before I got saved, and Guy Torrey was straight evangelizing comedians on the road. He had me in the hotel room, full Bible study. See, brother, I'm telling you, and I was sitting there, I was like, yeah. I said, this is really serious.
Sure, Guy Torrey knows the Lord, and we prayed over a Hustler magazine one time. I think.
Y'all hurry up, because I ain't got time for this.
I gave my life to Christ, and He gave it right back.
You gave it back? Wait a minute.
Come on back tonight.
I'm supposed to be on Bible study right now.
Come on, John.
All right, here we go. The conversation is about mental health, man, and this came to my mind as I thought about the Chris Rock special. JP and I have debated the special itself, but ultimately, I feel like Chris Rock, more than anything, he did it special before he was healed from it, before he was healed from that moment. And as I look at everything that's transpired, the slap and whatnot, it really made me take a hard look at my own mental health and mental health in general as we unpack it as comedians, because nobody checks on us. Who if we're in charge of making folks laugh, who checks on the Chris Rocks of the world and go, man, are you all right, dude? Are you ready to have this conversation yet? And I would like to, get y'all input. Corey, what's your thoughts, man, as you saw Chris go through what he went through on the special? And Guy, I definitely want to get into the other side of that too that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. I think he actually dropped that special before he had a chance to heal. But I think as a comedian, he probably thought he was healed. And a lot of times I'll take the stage, which I regret from time to time, bringing what's going on in my life and bringing it to the stage to try to make the funny out of it, which is what we do. But sometimes you need to really talk to somebody else, a professional, about it instead of talking to the audience. You might have a few professionals in the audience, but they're not the professionals that you need. So, yeah.
You have some, Kiana?
If I could, I would assume that, Chris do have people in his life that he probably could lean on. And unfortunately, we feel that our healing is oftentimes what we do is on stage. So it may have been that he felt like he didn't need anyone or need anything to help him heal because his healing was in his pen. And so many of us, I wrote a book on it, Bye Bye Bags, Laughing to Lighten the Load, and where I discuss healing myself whole through laughter, and it's unpacking your emotional baggage. And so in unpacking that emotional baggage, he took it to the stage, which ideally that's typically what we do. But again, like you said, who checks on us? And I believe wholeheartedly in PCP, we discussed this, Rodney. PCP is prayer, couch, and prescription. Some of us need not only to pray, but we also need to get on the couch, and we need to be brave enough and open enough to say, I'm struggling with this and I need help. And the last P, of course, is prescription. Sometimes we need a prescription to help us. And I'm not talking about marijuana and all this, but I am saying that sometimes we need a prescription to help us lower or decrease our anxieties.
You sure you're not talking about marijuana? You sure?
I mean, for some, it might be. For some, it might be. But for me, I don't partake at all. So, and I've been through the process of doing the healing, unpacking my bag.
I'm afraid
of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the part of mental health. I believe that action can pull you through it, as well as a great support group. One of the problems that I have with getting to the couch is that labels you, and then this is just a question that I'm asking. This is just a fear. I'm not saying that it is. I fear that it labels you, and I fear that in some way, shape, or form you'll pay for that label. You know what I'm saying?
Who labeled you?
All right, let's go down that road.
Okay.
But we will go back to that. Guy Tory, go ahead and give me your perspective on this.
Yeah, I definitely want to double back down the label thing. I have a lot to say about that. But I saw Chris Rock maybe a week or 2 weeks before the slap. I was in New York, Comedy Cellar, ran into him. And then I saw him recently after the slap. I went to San Francisco a month ago and saw that set in San Francisco when him and Dave Chappelle was on tour. And the look is different. The look in the eyes are different. And you can tell, you're right, he wasn't healed yet, because the look was like, well, and then I talked to him after the show and he was like, yo, man, what'd you think of the set? I said, I thought it was dope. He said, man, make sure you tell people how funny it is. And and you're right, it is a tricky thing about jumping on stage too soon before you're healed. But as comedians, like
That's what we do.
That's what we do. It's like we take it to the stage, and like that's our healing. That's our process of dealing with it. So when is the right time? And the other thing is too is timing. Comedy is all about timing. And like he dropped it right around the Oscars when it was relevant again. If he'd have dropped it maybe months down the road when nobody's talking about the Oscars, it would have kind of like out of place. But he dropped it very timingly, right when the Oscars was about to happen, when that whole thing was on everybody's mind and we were reminded of the slap. So I think it's like he's a genius in stand-up. So it's like I gotta drop it at the right time, and timing is everything.
Akintunde Warnock is in the building, man. Man, we're talking mental health as it relates to being a comedian, man. You and I are family men, and oftentimes as family men, you have to be on the road and miss some of the stuff. You miss the birthdays, you miss the, and that becomes a feeling of guilt sometimes. Talk to me about that, dealing with the guilt and telling your family, like, look, man, I'm sorry I missed your thing, but your daddy still loves you.
It's amazing you say that, because when I saw Chris Rock's special, I thought about it in two ways. I thought that one, I really am concerned about him because he seemed like he was bleeding on stage, right? And then the other side of it too is I thought about it from the perspective of it, who's really there for him? He's a father. He clearly was married. That didn't end well. The pressure from that, and then to have your manhood attacked in front of the world, you are historical forever. And as men, as comedians, this road that we travel, it does take a toll on your family. It does put pressure on you as a provider, because you always thinking about, hey, I got to stay funny, I got to stay working, but then at the same time, I have to be present for my children, for my wife, for if you got parents and you still participate or provide for them in some way, there's that pressure for that. I mean, and all of us are at an age now where we're managing life stuff too. So some of us may be managing dementia from a parent or health issues with a parent, or all of us, for a year and a half ago, for the first time, I got a high blood pressure diagnosis. So I mean, so that's like, okay, I'm managing stuff in a different place, and it does put pressure on you. And if you're not, you have to really, I think you have to have a good support system, and you have to really be comfortable talking to yourself, talking to God, and talking to somebody else. Like I in this moment, in this season of my life, I have real frank conversations with myself, with God, and I talk with other people frank. Here's what I'm dealing with. Here's my pressure. And I think if you don't have that, if you don't have somebody you can call, like I know if I call Rodney, we might crack for a minute if I say, hey man, I talk about this right here, or what you thinking about this right here. The conversation will shift when we'll go down the road, a private road, a grown man road, a husband road, or a father road, and stay there. And I don't walk away from it feeling like I lost anything or left anything on the table. If you don't have that, it's a problem.
Yeah, but you also, that's it. I was just about to say, we don't know if he have that. I don't know what the relationships are, what his relationship is with his siblings. I'll be honest with you, when I was there in Baltimore for the taping, that none of them was there. His mom was there. And so you don't really know who's around him. He may have thought that I don't know. I feel like he felt like he was ready because, you know, why would you do it beforehand?
Well, when I saw
$20 million. $20 million.
He signed up for 2, but go ahead, guy. I'm sorry.
When I saw the show in San Francisco, Tony Rock was there. Tony Rock was at that show. Tony Rock had been working when he had his special, so he probably couldn't be there physically. But Tony Rock was supporting him the whole time after the slap. Tony Rock. This is the most, as a matter of fact, this is the most I've ever seen Tony Rock support Chris. To be honest. He was there. I was like, wow. He was upset about it, which their relationship is probably kind of like Joe and I. If someone attacks your family member, whether you get with them or not, you F with them or not.
Still my brother, still family.
Still your brother, still family. Yeah. So Tony was there to support, and like again, I think timing was everything. I think it was an agreement between him and Netflix to drop it right around the Oscar season,
and it was the right thing to do.
I got it. All right, guys. Let's unpack mental health. And we did couch it around Chris Rock, but I mean, we deal with stuff every day. You know, as comedians, we deal with stuff every day. Man, we're coming out of a pandemic. I don't know about y'all. I can only speak for Rodney Perry. I almost lost my mind because I have not been off stage in 25, 30 years. And I looked up, and 4 months into the pandemic, I realized we ain't going back to work no time soon. So I'm at home. I'm not about to travel like normal. I'm not about to do stuff. That in itself was a lot until I leaned into this social media space. What was it for you, Kiana, that helped you find your way through during the pandemic?
Well, you know, I'm a businesswoman, so I just went to work. I went, I own a cell phone repair store called CPR, and we were open during the pandemic. So my whole goal was to maintain that business, because I have employees. So my goal, and then I really leaned into figuring out who I am off stage. I spent a lot of time. I realized I got a dope house. You know what I mean? I quarantined with my mom. My mom is dope. I spent time with my mother and my family and my dog. So for me, I didn't lose my mind. I was at peace being at home. And I felt really good about being able to keep my doors open of my business so that I wouldn't have to let my employees go.
Wow, well said. Thomas Waters tuned in. He says, a happy 313 day. Guy is wearing a Detroit t-shirt, which is the same t-shirt that Eddie Murphy wore in Beverly Hills Cop. Yes.
Right. T-Ward. It's 314 day. 313 day was yesterday. Shout out to Detroit. And then 314 day, St. Louis is today. So Detroit, one of my favorite cities.
What's Cleveland's day? I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yours would have been Valentine's Day. Yours would have been Valentine's Day. 216 is Cleveland, I think.
They have a day?
Yeah, we got a day.
They barely got a time.
Everything got a day.
Everybody.
Dog day, waffle day.
Not what we're talking about. Absolutely. All right. Guy T, man. The pandemic, man. You a single guy. I saw you start cooking, start finding other things, that you like to do. You made a documentary during that time. You got busy during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, during the pandemic, I didn't miss the humans at all. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did not miss the motherfucking humans at all. I needed it. I think the pandemic really saved my life. Let me tell you why. I do about 300 shows a year. I'm on the road about 40 weeks a year. I drink for free. I say this all the time. Someone asks about the pandemic. I drink for free. Each show, I'm doing about 4 shots, probably a show. And that's just Thursday through Sunday. We ain't talking about social drinking during the week. So at my age, the stress of traveling, packing, press, hotel, dealing with white people on airplanes, comic club, selling tickets and all that stuff, mixed with alcohol in our age and the stress of doing shows, are they going to like me? They're not going to like me. Okay, how many years you been in the game? That's going to be in your head. So I needed that break. I needed that time off the road. And you're right, Rodney. I did Comedy Kitchen, did the cooking show, which kept me and other people, from what I found out later, it kept them, their mind, healthy and happy and entertained. I worked on the documentary Fact Tuesdays. It allowed me to really do more research and do a deeper dive into it. And, and my health. So the pandemic was I needed that break. It was a godsend for me, and I think the pandemic for a lot of people it tested you. I think God at one time answered everybody's prayer. All this stuff, crap you've been crying about, you ain't got time for. You had time for, and you had no excuses after the pandemic. I always want to do this project, that project. If you didn't get it done, you didn't want to get it done anyway because you had time to do it. So and that's the only time in history of the world that it was something global. There's been nothing global that affect the entire globe at one time other than Noah's Ark. The only two times that we all were affected globally at the same time.
Wow. So that's Rodney Perry. You tuned in to Rodney Perry Live. JP Justice, man. Talk to me about mental health, bro. I mean, you're a father. You got your children. You and the wife are making a transition to being empty nesters. Like, what is the mental shift for you right now, man? And me and my wife, we going through it.
The pandemic for me, I got nervous during the pandemic because I've been Papa Bear since I was 21. And Papa Bear goes out the door and he brings home and he provides for the family. Well, when the outside shut down, I had to quickly think, well, how am I going to provide? That's what kept me out driving, because I drive Uber. That's what kept me driving Uber, because in my mind, I still got to bring home. This pandemic ain't going to stop, the needs of my family. But then and me and you spoke about this, what was a more killer to me, what was a more mental stress was the empty nesting. No one tells you about the back end of parenting when you got to let them go. Remember, I called you up, man. I was hyperventilating. I was crying. I was like, yo, my identity circled around being a father, being that direct Papa Bear father. So now when these kids are gone, what do? That was more of a mental, and even still, I just said to my wife, she said the kids will be home May 2nd or May 5th. And I'm like, and I said, whew. But then I realized, hey, that's a part of that mental anguish, that part of that identity. I think, I said this. I said earlier about the labels and stuff like that, but I do think that we need our inner circle to decompress. That's the big part. We need to be able to decompress and let go of that. We build up that steam. We don't know where to go, and it, what they say, pressure bust pipes.
Or make diamonds. It bust pipes. Right. Or make diamonds. So you got to figure out: are you a diamond or are you gonna bust? And that's that fork in the road that I think that we had a decision to make during the pandemic. Am I gonna crack under pressure and bust, or am I gonna come out shining like a diamond? Yeah. And most comedians, the reason why we're so great, all of us, because that talk about mental health, we're dark, twisted souls on the inside anyway, right? We do comedy, bring light to those situations. We're masking ourselves. So that pressure that we take from masking ourselves, we pressure so much, it does become a diamond. And that's why as comedians we shine.
So, but honestly, you have to realize who you were during those dark times. There were times that you were looking in the mirror, who am I? Like you said, am I that diamond or am I that pipe? And we learned real quick, there were some pipes out there. There were people who committed suicide. You were like, what? I didn't even know he was struggling because he didn't have a social circle to turn to. Or then when you came out shining, you were like, hey, I'm a diamond in this thing. So there was a time when you had to have a very transparent conversation with yourself to figure out who you were or who you wanted to be. And some of those conversations were not easy to have. And as we know, some of them, the conversations ended because we know people who actually committed suicide.
I didn't have to have the conversation with myself. Something I learned from my mom when my dad passed away, I called it arrogant. I said, I know where Joe gets his arrogance from. And you know what my mom told me? She said, I'm not arrogant. I'm spiritually bold.
Ooh, nice.
My mom is one of the greatest prayer warriors I've ever known in my life, other than Jesus and my dad. And my mom is so rooted that she's so confident in God, she's spiritually bold. And so that has bled onto me. So I knew that I was gonna survive because we treat God like he ain't got receipts.
Mm-hmm.
We treat God like he ain't got receipts. And he brought us through so much other stuff. And I can look back, and even when I used to journal a lot, I can look back at some of those pages in the 90s and in the early 2000s, and when my marriage was going through it, and God brought me through a lot. So I didn't have to have that question myself. No offense to anybody who had to, but because my mom and my dad gave us a strong foundation, and I knew God got receipts, I didn't have to have that conversation. Thank God.
Wow, well
and I
said.
get that. Yeah, go ahead, Rodney.
Thank you very much, Kiana, for allowing me to host the show. All right.
You know what?
Pettiness.
Hey,
Because you know I can and will.
I already know you'll take over any moment. Now, listen, we began to bring up a subject earlier. We talked about the couch. Pete, they're talking about therapy. You hear people talk about therapy, and of course, we all lost the great David Arnold just a few short months ago. And tomorrow I'll be in Cleveland to celebrate him once again on his birthday. And I'm like, nigga, I want to stay home.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got to a point where I reconcile, like you said, Guy. You go through it. You like, man, I dealt with everything I deal with, but now I gotta rehash all those emotions again.
Yeah.
And then his mama and his brother saying, keep it light. And I'm like, nigga, you should have called me.
That's that diamond.
Right. You should have called me. No. And I understand, Guy T. Hear me out. Because nobody thought to go, hey, is Rodney ready to do this? You know, so my question to y'all, man, all the stuff we go through, and Corey, man, you share some stuff with me that you have dealt with, man. Unpack those things, man, and you're not always doing your best, but you like the guy said, you a diamond though. At the same time, you dealing with depression.
Well, yeah, I've been diagnosed with depression. This happened way before the pandemic. And when everybody's talking about depression that we get during the pandemic and coming out as a diamond, I thought I was doing good too. I appreciated being home and getting to spend time with the family, which I found out was real quality time, because I realized I didn't really know what quality time was until the pandemic hit and I was forced to be around my family. Now, I'm not saying every day was beautiful, but I got an appreciation for it. I did also learn that I don't have to like people that I love. That's part of being in a relationship.
Welcome to my world.
Wow.
So on the other end of it, the other thing that going into the pandemic, like the day before the pandemic dropped, it sounded like an album.
Like an album.
The day before Beyonce dropped the pandemic album, I actually went into surgery. I went into surgery for prostate cancer.
Oh, wow.
So I came out, and my first 3 months of the pandemic was about recovery.
Wow.
So that took it to a whole nother level. And I was lucky to get into the hospital because they were shutting stuff down from
you had to get yourself a prostate exam.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And if they told me to come in, there's a good chance a lot of people who were going into the hospital weren't coming back out. Yeah. So I still went in and I did everything, and the pandemic, I went through all of it, and I thought I was fine and enjoying it and everything, especially when the in-laws couldn't come over. That was I tried to catch COVID. But when I came to the other side, when we got out, I thought I was okay until I performed. After I performed, I realized how really depressed I was, because it was like a weight just got off of me after I hit the stage. And it wasn't like me doing time. It was me hosting the show, but it just felt different. And a lot of the things that I went through during the pandemic is because I was diagnosed with depression. I am prescribed. I'm on the 3rd P. Actually, it's 4 Ps. I'll tell you about the 4th one later. When the pastor,
you mad? You can get it.
I mean, I ain't getting that because I don't like that, but I get it.
But all I'm to say is, I thought I was a diamond, but I found out I thought I was a diamond coming out on the other end, but I was actually a cubic zirconian. You know what I'm saying? Like, but because I had the experience of going through counseling and all this other stuff, I had techniques and things that I knew how to do to take care of myself, and I knew to call on people and share with people. And the other things I want to talk about, as a guy was mentioning,
Corey, enough. Goodness.
Just one thing, and then I'm gonna go. I know
I'm sitting next to Kiana. You going to sit next to Kiana.
Go ahead.
We
oh my God.
We as comedians, most comedians, we're people pleasers, and we get off. I get off of making people happy, and so when I can't do that, that makes me depressed. And I'm gonna
Indeed. Akatunde, man. You're a man of God. You know, you're a Christian comedian. People expect you to have the answers. What happens when you're at a loss, bro? I mean, y'all talked about the couch. Are you an active therapy guy?
I haven't. I'm all for therapy. I have not personally gone into therapy. I have multiple family members who utilize and benefit greatly from therapy. I have a good circle of people that I can talk to. Yourself is one of those people. I have a great relationship with my pastor. I have even some other friends of mine who are not my pastor, but they are pastors as well. So I have a good connection and great circle of folks that I can talk to about situations. My mom and I are tight. So I have good conversations with my children. And I also, because I either mentor some other people or I'm always parenting, even my children are adults. I'm always parenting. I'm actively conversating, communicating with and spending time with them. I found that when you spend time pouring into others, you wind up pouring into yourself. So when you know, it's just like JP was saying, when you spend having that time with your children and you're preparing them, you're encouraging them, you're encouraging yourself too. Like you say, he's like, man, I'm saying it to you, but I'm saying it to myself at the same time. And I think as we go forth and just have life, whether you do it through therapy, which is great, whether you do it through a spiritual more or religious connection, or whether you have it through your community, I think if you're talking, if you're communicating, you're going to get to the crust of what you're dealing with. And Black men in particular have to have a circle of people that we can deal with. It's cool for women to talk. It's cool. You got all kind of platforms. You got all kind of TV shows that celebrate female, not only empowerment, but female communication and female emotion. You don't have a whole lot of places as men that your emotions are celebrated. And when you act on your emotions, it can be a problem.
Let me jump in there with you, because you know Will Smith walks on that stage at the Oscars and slaps Chris Rock. Yeah, and I remember people going that saying that he has a right. He you know, he's been good all these years, and is that an excuse? Is that fair? And sorry, give it to me, man.
What? Okay, three things real quick. One. Corey and Akatunde, if you turn your heads upside down, you have an afro.
We can see you better.
Akatunde, I love how you and your mom are tight. Me and your mom are tight too.
He is the worst, me.
Yeah, you was in a pocket. You know, you small enough too. So.
What's the point, guys? Let me go ahead and get y'all in order. This is say your point, guys.
Okay, that's the mental illness.
We're the moderator.
Here's the thing with Will Smith. I read Will's book, right? And Will.
Did you read it or did you get an audio book?
I read it. I actually read it.
Oh, good for you.
I actually, in my humble opinion, and I'm no professional, in my humble opinion, first of all, Will Smith could have done stand-up. He's wired like a stand-up comedian. Stand-up comedian, we mask our pain. We do stand-up to mask our darkness. I said that earlier.
Right.
Will is more like the Fresh Prince in the Bel-Air series than he is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air series. Will ain't no punk. Will from the streets. He ain't no punk. But he put on this mask to mask, because if you read his book, he had a very dark upbringing. Saw his mom get abused by his dad. And so all that comedy that he's been blessed with, that gift of comedy, was masking all that pain. And I say this all the time. You can only pretend for so long.
Wow.
That's why a lot of marriages fail. You can only pretend for so long. And after all the years, and it haunts him when he was called a soft rapper and all that stuff. He got skills. He's a rapper. Whether he clean or not, it's like, he's a clean comedian. They're funny. They're clean, dirty, whatever. Funny is funny. And Will had bars, but he got tired of being called soft, tired of being emasculated.
JP next. I'll just let him know.
Okay, tired of being called soft, tired of being emasculated by his wife.
I was waiting that. Go ahead.
That night when he was laughing about the joke because it wasn't really that bad, in my opinion.
Right.
And he saw her look at him. She gave him that look. You know, when a black woman gave that look,
With your punk ass.
you
You gonna let
something.
him sit up and look at me like talk to me crazy in front of all these white folks. And he looked at her like, oh, okay, I better go do something.
Right. And that was just wrong. I was hurt to the core when I saw that. It's like, because Will was one of my favorite, still one of my favorite actors. Chris is definitely one of my favorite comedians. And to have them do that on a night that Will Packer executive produced the Oscars, and I say that because I did a movie called Ride in Jacksonville, Florida, and Will Packer was a cable puller on that movie. He was the best. He was a grip, and the white boys who were on that movie, who was over him, was treating him like crap. And to see him get to where he is today, I'm so proud.
Yeah.
But to have that happen on a night where he's being celebrated and it was in poor taste. So Will Smith is another one who was dealing with mental illness as well.
Yeah, you never know. Go ahead, Ock, and JP.
There is no amount of money. I thought about this the other day when I saw what Chris was saying about Will, and I was like, wow. As funny as it is, that is some strong medicine. There is no amount of money, no check that would allow me to want to consider my son's friend having sex with my wife. And then for me to have her tell me that
in front of everybody,
in front of 16 million people. That video was hit like 16 some million people on social media. There is no amount of money that can allow you to sleep good at night when something like that happens. And I don't care what kind of lifestyle you or what kind of marriage you.
Hold on, guys. I know we think we understand what them people was doing, but we don't, because they might be sexually on some other stuff. We don't know what their rules are as a couple. So
but see,
it's easy to look at them.
Doesn't mean it doesn't affect him.
I can't see that happen. But from what I know about them as a family, don't nobody get into that they ain't supposed to be in.
But if you entertain that, and even if you delve into that, see, at your core, you still who you are. See, we're spirit beings. Yep. You're still a man at your core.
Everybody, they ain't no Akatunde and Anissa. They own some other stuff over there.
Right.
Yeah, but like, we all hold on.
No, Miss Kiana, please. JP,
we don't know what rules they were going by under their household as far as what they can do. I think the only embarrassing part is that it got leaked. So,
yes.
So at that point, you can say, "Oh, it got leaked," because we don't know what
they didn't leak. She actually said it on her show.
That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying. However it came out.
Yeah, it wasn't leaked.
That's the embarrassing part, because we don't know what they allow in their household. He could have been a unicorn.
It could have been leaked, and then to get ahead of it, they went on and dropped it on the show.
Right.
Kiana, what's your thoughts?
I want to say this. I want to say this. Okay. As far as mental, the will and what's the name, such and such, put your seatbelt on, comics, because what I'm about to say is so not the comic.
You don't have to announce what you're about to say. Just say it.
Say it.
Being a comedian doesn't give you a blank check to just run over people's lives.
Yeah.
And even though you do have freedom of speech and you can say what you want to say, sometimes you have to think about it. Is it worth it? You're going to have to pay the repercussions. Now, I read part of Will Smith's book, but I also work with Will. I was one of the Men in Black dancers. So, I've been around. Yeah, I was one of the Men in Black dancers. So I've been around him. I know that he's a nigga at his core. But then I also been around Chris. And I know Chris is an asshole, a big asshole. And says things out the side of his neck that if he wasn't Chris Rock and he was on the block, he would get smacked up every day. He already comes through with self-hate of who he is. You can tell by his shows, everybody hates Chris and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So that whole situation was, and I hate that it happened on such a big night as well. And let me say this, I do not condone the hit, but I understand. But
why you gonna call?
So I was just gonna say one of the coldest lines in Chris Rock's special was, "We all been cheated on, but we never been interviewed by the person who cheated on us." That's where it was. That's what it is. I mean, it was many cold lines, but that's like you sitting there. I'm looking at you. Fine, you did it, But now you
Cars.
tell everybody with your chest out that
Cars.
you slept with our son, boy, friend.
Bars.
Well, again, I think that's the outside looking in. To me, the coldest thing he said was, people ask me, do it hurt? It still hurts.
Until you get hit with a brick.
No, not the brick. They asked me, do it hurt? It still hurts. I think that speaks volumes to the man being absolutely in pain. He stood on that stage and he almost wept at the end of it. I think he's going through way more than we can see on the surface of it.
Here's the other thing to take into consideration is all the things that we're seeing and how we're processing, and we're talking about Will Smith's book and all the things he went through, and her saying, interviewing him with her chest out and all this other stuff. I'm sure Chris is thinking the same thing, processing all that. So his reaction that night is like, the night of the slap is like, I can't do anything because I understand kind of what he's going through, and he's questioning himself whether or not he should even do the material when he was on stage. But I think I felt like the jokes were funny. I just think he wasn't healed enough not to show that he was still in pain and delivering.
But then but also I didn't like the fact that, Will was saying, why you're still talking about it. Who are you to tell me when and if I do talk about it at all? The fact is you accosting me. So if I want to talk about the day of, that next day, 2 years, 3 years, at the end of the day, I can talk about it when I'm ready. So maybe, like you said, we're seeing him bleed on the stage, and that's part of the process. When you're going through, ideally you want to talk about whatever you went through, whatever your trauma is, when you're talking to people from a healed place and clear, instead of standing there bleeding on people. So like when I'm speaking to people about being a child molestation survivor, I'm not speaking to people from I'm bleeding all over the place. I'm in a whole healed place. I dealt with my trauma, and I can talk to you about going through your trauma, how to get how to turn your pain into purpose. Well, guess what? That we did not see.
I would agree with you on. I didn't like how Will said, I'm hurt and I'm disappointed by Chris Rock's special. You slapped this man on national TV when the world was watching, in front of his family, kids, and his fans, and you're hurt by what he said about you. You should just take the L and say, you know what, I deserved it, and we wouldn't be talking about it now, probably. Just take the L.
I wonder if he even said it though. I wonder, did he say it? Or did
he got released. He said he didn't. According to him, he didn't even watch it. People told him about it. But here goes, guys. Let's really look at this. Because as we kind of deal with this, and this couch thing is keep coming back to my mind. Ox says he believes in therapy, but he don't do it. The question is, I'm a black person that's been talking about therapy a long time, but I ain't never been. I come from school. When I was growing up, my mama said, "You don't tell my business to nobody."
That's the problem.
So the question is, and I know Kiana, you subscribe to therapy and you're through therapy. Is that something that we as blacks in America need? And if you do go to therapy, is your therapist a black woman or a black man or a black person at all?
That is the problem. First of all, I think the lack of therapy is the reason why we are where we are. I think everybody, we talk about reparations. Yes, I think we should get some money, but I also think it should be required that we get therapy because we have been through traumatic.
What is the therapist going to tell you that you can't figure out on your own?
Listen, first of all, if we can figure it out on our own, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't be turning into drugs.
Where are we that we can't get out of?
We're in a state of mayhem.
What do you mean? How so? Explain mayhem. Educate.
Okay, so first of all, a lot of fathers opposed to staying in the household and raise their son or their daughters, they leave based on whatever's going on in the household. Whatever issues you got going on with her, you abandon the family. I'm not saying y'all because y'all are different. I'm saying I've seen it for myself. I've seen men tuck their tail, run away because they don't know how to deal with pressure.
Therapy is going to make him stay?
Yes, a therapist and a counselor will help you. Will give you a different way of dealing with life pressures. Your homeboy may not be educationally equipped to help you deal with the things.
Stop right there. Corey Bannon, is that true? In your book, you think that's true?
I think that's facts. Because a lot of times when you talk about what we're dealing with, we still as a people, we're still dealing with PTSD of slavery, across the board. Yeah. And see, we don't know how to deal with those things because
what does your therapist look like, Corey?
Well, usually black female.
I've had both. I had black female and male.
Yeah.
But you would never have a white male therapist. Yes.
I'm not saying I would never have it, but I think first of all, it's about the process. It's an interviewing process to find the right therapist for you, black, white, and different. You got to find the right one that you feel comfortable enough sharing with. But they're going to share stuff with you. There's a difference between communicating with someone, having a communication with someone, and talking to someone that's able and equipped to listen.
Well, y'all didn't say shit. He said he ain't going to talk to nobody.
No. Let me be clear about the only reason I haven't had therapy is because I recognize, and I'm not in any way disparaging or minimizing anything that's happening to anybody else. But there's some things to me that just ain't happened in my life. I had a good mama who protected me from a lot of things and who also prepared me for manhood and held me accountable. So I didn't have no coddling mom. I had a strong mama who was equally strong but equally loving. So she loved on me, cared for me, but she also prepared me. And I got a wife who respects me. I know dudes who wife talk to them real slick and crazy out the mouth. I'm like, hey, I could never deal with that.
Please don't take what I said the wrong way.
No. I'm not saying you are.
What I'm saying is that we got two proponents for therapy,
right?
And I get it, but as blacks in America, a lot of us, and I know I might be in the majority in this idea I'm about to throw out there. A lot of us is like, I don't need no goddamn therapy.
See,
right, you are.
Let me jump in. Can I say something? That's the problem. Is that we as black people, there's always fall for pride before the fall.
Right.
We feel like we don't need therapy.
Right.
Again, because of slavery, we need it the most. But also, just as humans, none of us are perfect, and we need God gave man and woman the gift to be able to listen and help people solve their issues or their.
Have you sat and talked with somebody, Guy Tori?
I have. I'll get to that.
Okay.
So when someone brought up slavery, it hit me the other day, last year. So when I was a kid, me and my mom used to send me and my sister down to South Carolina to play with my great-grandmother all the time. I mean, to visit my great-grandmother. We used to be playing in the yard, fun, happy. My great-grandma used to come out and say, y'all too happy, I'm about to cut your ass. You're too happy, you're too laughing, I'm about to whip you. And it didn't take me until last year, and I'm 54 now. It didn't take me until last year to realize what that meant. Slaves weren't allowed to have happiness.
That's right.
In public. We weren't allowed to laugh, have fun.
Yep.
So my great grandma wasn't that far removed from slavery.
Right.
So their parents taught them, don't be happy in public. You're too happy. If you're too happy, the master gonna whip you. Master gonna hang you. So, but this was in the 70s that I was going down there. We're far away removed from, but that mentality was still there. So we are still fucked up by slavery.
And not and I
want to ask this question.
Now, with black men.
Let Guy finish. We're going to Kiana, then we're going to JP. In that
wrap up with this. With black men, that's the issue. That's why we have so much crime in the hood. We are taught not to show emotions, not to cry, not to do it, and we suppress it so much that we walk around stressed out. That's why we're dying of stress, heart attacks, and all that stuff, and or drug abuse or alcohol abuse, because we're trying. That's our therapy, and that should not be therapy. It should be a trained professional who you feel like rock with you, who should be able to tell you your problem. I went to marriage counseling, and I thought I was a good husband until I went to therapy, and I had to step outside myself and see myself and saw, okay, I ain't the guy I thought I was. So yes, you need a professional, and black people got to get that out their head. I don't need anybody to talk to me. Yeah, okay. Then
that is exactly why we need a therapist to help you see yourself outside of yourself and not worry about the label. So while we're so busy walking around talking about, oh, she go to therapy, oh, she go to counseling, but guess what? I've sorted through my issues. A lot of times when you come into a relationship, first of all, you don't know what the person that you're dealing with, whether that's a friendship, a relationship, a marriage, or whatever, you don't know what they've been through. So when they come to the table, I want your best self to show up. I want your healed self to show up. I don't want to have to deal through all your brokenness that you're unwilling to face. So that is the issue. So if you're saying you're labeling me, I don't want to label you, but what I am saying to you is I want you to come to me healed, happy, and whole. Period. And so if you have not done the work, so every time you come into the relationship, you assume that I'm gonna treat you the way the last woman treated you. You haven't dealt with the drama and the trauma of your past. That is what.
Let me jump in there with you for a second, Kiana, because I'm really listening. I'm trying to really process this. But I know you're an author now. So to me, you got all the buzzwords, of people that's therapy motherfucking business. You know, now you in the therapy business. Now you got the acronyms and the buzzwords, and I'm like, is this real? Do I really need
real.
that?
I don't have a book.
Let me make it realer. I'm a child molestation survivor. As soon as I told my mother, huh?
Go ahead.
Okay, soon as I told my mom what happened. One time, no penetration, inappropriate touching, that's it. Soon as I told my mother what happened, she put me on the couch. You know why? Because she needed to make sure that when I grew up to be 20-something and I started doing the do, that I didn't have any kind of hangups with my body. I needed to be able to, when I go to the pool and swim with other kids, I don't feel uncomfortable. I feel subconscious about my body. I needed to be confident. And if you don't fix that at the root, right? If you don't address that, you just continue to brush
therapy as a child.
As a child, it needs to be addressed. Like for example, I think a lot of these young men don't shoot. I'm just saying these young men we're seeing is coming out like over the top, overly gay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that every time all of them been touched inappropriately. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you can't be born gay.
You're saying that gay is mental illness.
But what I am saying is, if some of them have been touched and have been put in counseling to help them unpack their drama, their trauma, and their guilt associated with that, they would have maybe have been given a different.
They might have been gay anyway, but they would be healthier. Hold on, got you. Let's go, JP. JP,
This is a question. Is overly gay different from regularly gay?
Put too much sugar in your
mean, you know what I'm saying, guys. You know what? I got to get off this thing. I got stuff to do.
I got to go.
We almost there, guys. We got 9 minutes. Go ahead, JP.
So I want to say this first off. I don't think quote unquote professional. Let me say that because I go to a really great barber that's the cornerstone, and where men sit down.
I'm not about to let you do this.
No, hold on. Let me just say this. We sit down amongst ourselves.
You want a low fade? And we talk about your problems today. I can write you a prescription. I know you're
listen,
white feet.
I don't like the fact that you're juvenile and what I'm saying to you when I sat and listened to you.
Go ahead, JP, please.
What I'm trying to say to you is we sit down and we unpack stuff for real. Like in my barbershop at Denny Mo's, we have cried in there. Grown men have cried because they were trying to get through their problems, and I seen grown men hug one another and give what I would consider considerably great advice to situations. So sometimes I say to myself, you know, when I go to if I was to go to one of these what's the names, do they tell me right or wrong, or do they leave it up for my best thought or how?
It depends. It depends. I mean, you know, you go to a therapist that is that can give you an objective. They just non-biased opinion, and sometimes. Listen, I'm telling you, JP, just be open to it. You never know whether it's a woman, a man, a black woman, or a white woman, or whatever. I'm telling you, they are trained to help you figure out the best way for you.
All right, guys.
There's a difference.
Go ahead. Hold on, Corey.
I gotta go because I gotta hop on another podcast. Actually, this is a part of my therapy, right? It's unofficial, right? But it's our churches. We have a every Tuesday podcast on Clubhouse, right? But here's the thing, JP, I'm a former master barber, and a lot of the manhood development that I received was in the barbershop. That 10 years of me cutting hair in the barbershop from the age of 15 to about 25 before I started doing comedy. That was a part of my development. That was a part of my therapy. I got a chance to see and learn a lot of things about myself. To Kiana, your mama stopped what could have been a generational curse in you by her being proactive and not denying what you went through, by not minimizing what you went through, and also recognizing like, yo, you got to do something. How many black people, you know, you're not nearly as old as I am, but how many black people as adults today back then had parents who was willing to say, my child need to have therapy, as opposed to let's just scrape this under a to your mama.
And the other thing I think what it did too was it allowed Kiana to say it's nothing that you did. That was him.
Right.
Nothing you did that caused that. You didn't flirt. You didn't do everything. So at a young age, you need to understand that because I've never been in that situation, but I don't know if the questions are in your head. Like, what did I do to deserve that? But therapists will let you know it wasn't you. It was him.
This
All right,
is a shameless plug for my nonprofit.
All right, guys.
If I can add this last thing,
No.
we
Rodney.
Rodney.
No, you cannot. You can't do
Okay,
He got to.
Go
Let's
ahead,
add
Rodney. Go
it.
ahead.
Let me.
we
So-
wrestle not against flesh and blood, but
Come
spiritual
on.
principalities in high places. So there's spiritual, there's spirits, demonic spirits that have come for all of us, because those spirits know what our destiny is.
Let me ask you this,
So the spirits know what book, would know what who we're gonna touch, and they also know the stages and the power in our voices. So when you recognize that it ain't got nothing to do with you, they trying to take out your future, they trying to take out your children, everybody you gonna reach,
And your destiny. Come on.
and your destiny.
Oh,
So
here go the double buzzwords. Okay, I can tell.
90 seconds.
I know you about to
I
go.
gotta go.
I know you got to go. But last question for you.
Sure.
So
Here
let me
comes.
ask you this, man. As you go through,
Here comes the foolishness. I know some foolishness.
Stay with me. I noticed the inside of your hands are dark skinned as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about
Let me see your dark skin hand.
arms, your dark.
So let me tell you something. This is these black hands right here.
Tar Heel.
These black hands right here. So
Praying.
you learn how to deal with what Rodney is dealing with. Rodney is going through what's called the Negro spirit. The
I
Negro
thought you had to
spirit.
go. I thought you had to go.
I gotta go.
The Negro spirit is a foul spirit that takes over one's soul.
Come on now.
and it comes out at different times.
You've been laying hands on Michael Blackson.
Oh wow! Hey! All jokes aside, man, what a great conversation, guys. Thank each and every one of you for coming on.
Yeah.
Fat Tuesdays is out there for you to watch right now. Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And each and every one of you, man. I don't know if we achieved anything, but I think we definitely achieved something by having a conversation.
Open the door.
So,
Open the door. With,
I think for us to walk away with this, to walk away from me, is therapy is not your enemy. You know, and
That part.
JP and I may need to go talk to somebody. We talk to each other. I think that's
That part.
Hey, I'm telling you, Rodney, you definitely need to. Hey, y'all, I love y'all. But
Hold on, brother.
I gotta go. But listen,
Hey,
I
what
just
kind of
wanna
mic
say
is that? Cause that motherfucker's a crap.
Hold up. Everybody keeps saying
Let
they
me
gotta
go.
go there and jump
I
in and
gotta
try to
go.
talk for 2 minutes. Listen, we did not know we needed Fat Tuesday
Text me the mic.
until we
Text me.
had Fat Tuesday.
I would-
Amen.
So
Amen.
therapy,
I love you. I gotta
never
go.
know.
There it is.
All right, you don't have to say it no more. I
love
can
y'all.
that your ass is out. Kiana, you say you gotta go, you out. Oh, she got out before I could throw her out. Okay. Go take a shower real quick, Guy Tori. Thank you all for coming on. Real quick. How do we stay in touch, GT?
Oh, at Guy Tori. You gotta follow me. Those who aren't following me on Instagram and on Facebook. Facebook is Guy Tori Live. Instagram is at Guy Tori, right as it is spelled on the screen.
Catch Guy Tori at Memphis and at Chuckles. He's coming to the club.
Richmond, Virginia this weekend, Funny Bone.
Richmond, Virginia, Corey Manning. See you, bro.
You can check me out right there, CoreyManning.com. That's my website. Also follow me on Instagram. I'm saving the world one smile at a time, 24/7.
I like that. That's a nice little
Yeah.
tagline. JP
Yeah.
Justice, man.
It's your
Always
boy
a pleasure, brother.
Yeah. Listen, I love, first off, this was a wonderful conversation. And I love the fact that you opened the doorway for people to at least think and begin to talk in their small circles and ponder whether or not they want to go down that route. Therapy is definitely good. I'm never kicking therapy
Know
in
how
the face.
to navigate that. And some people probably even hearing that.
I can't.
JP, is therapy the same as therapy?
I don't know, but I know that lawnmower you had on in your little hand that you thought was a clipper.
Hey, this was the highlight for me.
Hey, this is how you defend
I
Kevin
say-
Durant. This is how you defend Kevin Durant.
That's how you deal him up. Hey,
But listen, you can find me under JP Justice Laugh under anything, or you can catch me debating with Rodney Perry at any given time. You know, Rodney, my phone is always open. I love these talks and debates. Had a great time with you, man.
Hey, great chat today. My name is Rodney Perry. You're tuned in to Rodney Perry Live. Guy Tori, thank you for Spiritually Bold. Thanks to Mama Tori for giving that word to you guys and you sharing it with us. Be spiritually bold. That's enough for me to get out of here. Hey, y'all been great, man. My name is Rodney Perry. You're tuned in to Rodney Perry Live.
for America's #1 funny man. What? Hey. Make some noise. Ladies and gentlemen, from LA to New York,